The fire burned out. The warmth has gone away. The fire burned out, darling. The warmth has gone away. You turned so cold on me, baby, and you'll miss my love someday. The fire burned out. It's fading slow and deep. The fire burned out, darling. It's fading slow and deep. I'll keep on moving forward, but I'll cry myself to sleep. The fire burned out. It's gone and gone for good. The fire burned out. Oh, it's gone and gone for good. One day I'll open my heart again, just like I always knew I should.
Okay, how's everybody doing? So I'm going to talk to you about this code 70, in this case to 55 transition. So I was going to go 40 on this. I mean, I wasn't sure, right? But I realized that code 40, by the time you get the code 40 down, whenever you have growth like this, you're really pushing it, right? And you don't want to have a spur that just doesn't run or function as well as you'd like, because then you won't use it. And this is a main industry here on section 3 on River Road, and I don't want to run into that. Like, I already know from experience, I already have a code 40 siding, over on section 2. Okay, and it works fine. I can run my 4-axle on there, but I want to run my 6-axles on here because, well, I can run 6-axles everywhere on my layout easily because I got these broad curves, right? Which was in the initial plan. Like, I knew in the beginning I was going to be running 4-axle and 6-axle because SRY has 4-axle and 6-axle locomotives on their roster. And I want to be able to do that because I think it looks cool having an SD40 or 38 switching out a couple grain cars. But so if I do code 40, it looks cool when you're up close, but actually code 50 looks pretty good too when it's buried in the weeds. It's pretty small, but it's just enough just to guarantee that you're going to get good clearance of the flanges through the weedy parts, right? So that's what I'm going to do. I mean, if I really wanted to, I could put some code 40 section at the very end down by the road where you'd really see it if it matters. But I can make that decision later on because I had, like, these long 3-foot rail, like this micro engine weathered rail sections are 3 feet, I think, or 36 inches long, and it goes down a fair bit further than that. So what I did was here, as you can see, this is code 70 with the code 70 rail joiners. These are code 70 rail joiners as well, and I find that the 55 slides on, but they're loose. But what I did was I took some longer code 70 pieces and I soldered on the code 70 connector. Like, I cut these off later. I just needed more of a leg to hold them, because what I did was I crushed, here, let me see if I can get this unwieldy piece of rail steady here. So yeah, okay, so you see that there? You can see where basically what I did here is I soldered this connector onto this code 70, right? And then I crushed the end of the joiner, like, you know how they have a slot in it? I just crushed them down with a pair of pliers, flat pliers, okay? And then I clamped the code 55 on top of the rail joiner. Like, I'm not sliding it in now. I've crushed it down and I filed it so that the top of the rails are perfectly level, right? And then I clamped it with just one pair of tweezers and just soldered the piece. So now I have a good code 70, because this turnout is code 70, and I just want to just slide them in. But here's the problem though. is because it's a bit fatter on the bottom, like the base of it. I can't get it to stay like level with these center valley ties. I have to hog out this area. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do here. I'm going to hog out 2 of these tie plates. I mean, I'm just going to add ballast and stuff anyway, so you won't really see it, but this is what I have to do to get them to sit level, okay? So I just got to clean that up. Like I say, I can ditch a lot of this with weeds and some grass. That's the beauty of pinch and stab, you know, that technique that I've been showing, you know. When you get used to doing it, man, it's really so great skill to develop, because you can, like, it just expands your horizons basically when it comes to scenery. So you can just come in and stab in little tufts and things to hide stuff like this, etc. Right? Okay, so now I should be able to slide. Okay, see that? Now I can slide that in, right? Now I got to make sure, like, I don't want to bump in the road, so yeah, I got to take it down more, a fair bit more, this second one. Otherwise it's not going to sit flush. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'll do that first, and then we'll have another look at this. I'll show you how I'm going to fasten this down. Okay, so the rail is down, and there's just 2 droppers right here, which I'll probably just, you know, ballast in, bit of grass, paint that away. You'll never know where that's from unless you look from underneath. So what I did was, just to refresh quick, is I spot CA'd, you know, every 2 or 3 inches the rail. I was actually, as I went further down, I was able to get CA on, you know, 3 or 4, even 5 ties, and then put the rail down, you know, pin it down, right? So the rail's all in place, but there is still a little bit of movement, which I check with the NMRA gauge, right? So you want to make sure that when you put this gauge in there that you can see, well, where's the best angle here for the light for you, but you get that first little notch in there, and you just check. Just make sure that, you know, there's a tiny little bit of play anyway in there. All right, just to make sure, okay, that it's engaged. And if you need to, you can, like the loose parts that weren't seared, you can kind of move them a bit. And it is a sort of a spur, so I actually want a little bit of deviation. So now what I've done is I just pinned down areas where it wasn't CA'd, where it was a little bit loose, just to hold it down tight. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to treat this just like I would with ballast. I'm going to spritz it down. I'll just move this out of the way for now. And the reason why I'm going to spritz it down, just like I would ballast, is because it'll help draw the matte medium into the ties under the rail and help fix the rail to the ties, as I mentioned. So once you do this and the matte medium cures, it's not going anywhere. So, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little cup like I pointed out earlier, and let's figure what do we need about. Yeah, that should be plenty. I always end up making more than what I need, but, well, we'll go with that because I don't need a whole lot. And then I'm going to take some of this matte medium, and I'm just going to drop in just a little squirt like that. Not much, right? So maybe 5, or I'd say 10% matte medium, 90% water. Maybe it's, yeah, I'd say, well, 15 to 85. How's that? And I think I mentioned this before, matte medium, like this particular matte medium, is such good quality. Like, it'll take you a while to learn to trust it. Like, I'm not kidding you. Like, this here was like 10%, 90% water, and like, I can't believe how hard it is. So I've probably wasted more than I need. So if you learn to use this judiciously, it'll go a long ways, right? course, hashtag no sponsor Liquitex. But now I'm going to take my little eyedropper here that I picked up at the local pharmacy, and I'm just going to basically drop in. And you know, the thinner it is, the better. Like, I mean, it is transparent. If you use it straight from the bottle, when you use grass, like, you never see it. And when you put it, if it's too heavy on your track, like, you might, sometimes you get a little bit of a white film, but what I do is I spritz down with pure 99% isopropyl alcohol, which usually kills it. That little, maybe, if there's a gray or white film, but you won't notice it where there's grass and ballast and rail, really. I don't anyway. So what this is going to do is, this is actually like an adhesive too, right? It's a flat, transparent, water-based adhesive that when it cures, it's incredible, and it never goes brittle, okay? So that's what I'm going to do. Go all the way down. And before I close on this, some of the disadvantage of doing hand laid like this is it takes you longer. But if you're okay with that, then that's not a disadvantage, right? The advantage is you get really nice, distinct in the weeds track, because the actual grass growing is under the rail now, because you put the rail on last, and it looks really awesome. Which is why a lot of the old masters back before Flex Track hand laid their track. Like, they understand it. And that's how they did it. And then when Flex Track came out, what happened was they just used the Flex Track for the, excuse me, my hand off camera a bit there first. They just used the Flex Track for off layout staging, etc. But there's a certain look, even though the hand laid track sometimes won't have tie plates, hand laid track really looks awesome. But this like these Central Valley ties, like, I'll admit, this is the first time I've used these. I've hand laid loads, like miles, literally miles and miles of mostly O wood ties, and used tie plates and rail, like code 100, code 83. This is the first time I've used Central Valley ties, and they're awesome. I think they're just fantastic. I'll probably be using them again on another diorama maybe, or on section 4 I probably will. Whatever that plan turns out to be, I think I might just go with the Central Valley, because they do look awesome with code 55 or 70 rail and code 83. Okay, so basically you can see that didn't take very long to do. Okay, and I'm going to let that dry, and then just twist those pins out and clean the top of the rail, and she's good to go. Okay.